research that we conduct at Ipsos called the Ipsos Global Advisor product, which is a survey that's run in 24 countries. And one of the questions we ask is whether the economic situation in your country is good or bad. So what we're seeing here is the proportion of people since March 2010 who've selected our economic situation as being very good or somewhat good in Australia, and these are all Australians. And of the 24 countries tested during the most recent survey, we ranked 6th in terms of economic confidence, with 64% of Australians saying it's very good or somewhat good. Saudi Arabia, 87% were the most confident. The poor Hungarians, only 5% were confident that their economy was very good or somewhat good. What I've done on the next slide though, is to bring it into a bit sharper focus, is I've overlaid a 6-month rolling average on top of the Australian figure, and what we can see with that is that for 5 of the 7 months surveyed this year, we're seeing below average performance. So we're seeing that number's getting lower and lower and lower, steady as she goes. So down, down, confidence is down. Sorry about that. Okay. The next one that we're looking at is just when we're feeling a little bit down about ourselves. Be thankful that we don't live in the US or the UK, where the poor guys have got really, really low, really weak economic confidence, and the numbers not getting any better. It's not getting any worse, but it couldn't get much worse. We also, on the back of looking at these numbers in June, decided to ask Australians if they felt that they were a little bit better off or worse off than they were 12 months prior. So in June 2011, we asked, are you better off or worse off compared to June 2010 financially? Only 3% of Australians believe that all Australians are better off than they were the previous 12 months. 58% of Australians believe that we're worse off. 9% of people selected that they were themselves better off, but 52% of people said that they were worse off than they were in the previous 12 months. And when we look at those people by some demographic cuts, we find that more than half of Australians surveyed reported being worse off compared to June 2010. Those with kids were most likely to report being worse off, and those earning 200 grand as a household were least likely to report being worse off. That's all pretty bad news in terms of how people are feeling, and it's a little bit difficult, I think, for people to really understand because there's so much conflicting advice. Every day we look at the newspaper and you've got a bull market one day and then there's a bear market the next, and stocks rally and stocks dive, houses are going down, houses are going up. It's very difficult for people to understand, but I think what people can see are those things at the petrol bowser where they see that's going up, those visual cues, even though there's some consumer products that are cheap like milk. It's those day-to-day things. The electricity bill always seems to be more expensive, the costs always seem to be higher. That's what people are suggesting to us. The next slide that we look at is the worse off versus better off slide, and we know that some people are feeling it a bit harder than others. So just in summary, I guess the best way to sum this up is we've got 52% of people saying they're worse off, 9% of people saying that they're better off compared to the previous 12 months, and so Australians are 6 times more likely to say they're worse off than better off, and older Australians in particular 11 times more likely to say they're worse off, and these are likely to be people who've invested a lot in superannuation and lost a fair bit in 2008, 9, 10. And wealthier Australians, even though they're still saying that they're worse off, are the least likely to say that they're worse off. So in summary, that's our issues monitor for the quarter ending July 2011. Healthcare hospitals continues to be the most important issue facing the nation, particularly for older and regional Australians. Inflation, cost of living is important for young Australians, while the economy is important for older Australians. Confidence in our economy is diminishing. We're still in better shape than more mature economies. However, for people on the ground, that doesn't really matter day to day. The comparison against the US and UK doesn't help people feel better about themselves when they feel like they're paying a lot more than they ever have before for everything. We're all feeling a little bit cash-strapped and hard done by, but I think hopefully we'll all pull through. Sorry, it's a bit grim. But yeah, so that's kind of our issues monitor for the July in 2011. Does anyone have any queries or comments?